Hello, welcome back to IT Land, the Nugget courses. Today's exercise 4. We span an AKS, we deployed, we created ACR. Today we test the HA. Yeah. At this point, you have deployed single instance of web application service container. In this exercise, you'll increase the number of container instances for the web service and scale the front end on the existing cluster. So only front end. We're not going to do the API. We're going to do the web app. First, task 1. You will increase the number of instances for the API deployment Kubernetes dashboard via dashboard, not via the REST API. From a navigation menu, I mean, before that, you go to the browser, you browse to localhost semicolon 8001 port. Yeah, that will open that one for you if you forgot. Yeah. Then you navigate to scale under main landing page workloads. You click deployment API and then you click scale. How many pod you want to scale? If you remember, it was one out of one. Yeah, we can do it through the YAML or we can do it here. Here we're going to scale to 2, click OK, save the change, and now the replica set will be set to 2 rather than 1, which means one is running, one is pending, and it will take time, and you end up with a couple of replica set. From the navigation menu, select deployment, go to the list API, have a look at the replica set, and it will show you 1 out of 2 because the second one is still uh, building, yeah, the API. Again, repeat the same thing after a while, and then you see that we have 3 replica sets, basically, okay? So navigate to the web application, browse again, do the same thing. A, task, status HTML, have a look at the information, web task, task ID, hostname, PID, and uptime, refresh, and that should basically replicate and show us what we have. Task 2, increase surface instance beyond available resource. So we increase whatever we had earlier into 2, couple of them via the portal. Yeah. Just to add, on task 1, you can do through the command as well. When you have to open YAML file and you can go to the replica set, it says 1, you can change it to 2, and that will basically start spinning the new one. If I want to increase it beyond what we have, again through the GUI, the dashboard, navigation menu, deployment, API view, scale, and then click on OK. This time I'm going to do 4. Yeah, it's beyond what I have. What will happen? How that will basically start complaining. From the navigation menu, select surface, view, discovery, load balancing, API surface, list it. You will see 2 healthy and 2 unhealthy, depending on the time. What does that mean? Like this: 2 healthy, 2 unhealthy. After a few minutes, select the workload, navigation, view, API, and you will see number of nodes are available to match the requirement, 2 pod, 2 fault tolerance. Yeah, this message indicates that there weren't enough available resource to match our requirement, like CPU, RAM. In this case, this instance required port 3001, and since there are only 2 nodes available in the cluster, only 2 API instances can be scheduled. The third and fourth will wait for the new node to be available that can run another instance using the port. Take away from there, basically, 2 are useless. If that makes sense to you. So here we go. So only you have 2 out of 2. So you go back to the same activity, reduce the scale down to 2. Immediately it will work because you go only 2, and you see here API 2 out of 2. Okay. So take away, make sure whatever you allocate, dynamic allocation, I think it's better than static, but it depends on the resource you allocate. The YAML file we spoke about earlier. Inside the YAML file, uh, what you need to do basically, you need to make sure like the RAM, CPU are allocated based on how much resource you have for each node. For example, if you remember the node we selected was a D version 2, DS version 2, like 8 gig RAM, which means one node can have multi-pod, but these pods, if I put like 2 pod there, and each one of them will have maximum maximum will have like a 4. But bearing in mind there are other services like Kubernetes services will consume RAM as well on that node. So you cannot just like put the max, which means if I put it dynamic, if I can, then they get allocated. You can have 2, 3, 4, 5, pods. Each pod will have maybe 128 megabytes or 256 or half gig. It will automatically pull from the pool. But if you put static, then you need to think about the risk associated with that one. Okay, this is something you pay attention for. Now, if I would like to test after creating a replica set, I would like to test the whole setup. What I do in this scenario, uh, this task, you will start the container, and I recommend basically to think about how many replica sets you have created. So for this one, let's we continue on this and then the next session. Thank you for watching and goodbye for now.